So thank you for coming today. Today I want to talk about zero trust, which is probably not the most exciting thing, but it's also not the most complicated thing. And we're going to talk about basically how simple it is. So I'm Bill Gardner. There we go. And I'm a Libra, like long walks on the beach. I'm this associate professor at Marshall University, was named interim chair, program director of the undergraduate program. So if you want to talk about furthering your career through education, I'm currently in process of getting both the undergraduate and the graduate programs online, so we can have folks who aren't living in Huntington the program available to you all. So what is zero trust? Does anyone want to take a stab at that?
You don't trust anything on the inside.
Okay, well, good job. I'll see y'all later. Zero trust architecture. You are correct. You don't trust anything on the inside, for those who didn't hear it. Anyone else? Anybody? Bueller? Oh, thank God you all get my jokes. Did you have a back there? You don't rely upon any other layers of security. So we'll go through this. But zero trust is a framework. It's not a product. So if somebody tries to sell you something, say it's zero trust, it's basically snake oil. It's not a matter of a specific product is going to fix all your problems. It's no better than a blinky light box. You know, those things we put in our networks that protect us from advanced cyber hacking stuff. So it's a matter of implementing a framework, and it isn't a specific product. It's focused on tailored controls, perimeters, and trusting nothing. So what happens to most of our environments? People don't attack through the firewall. Well, some people do, but most people are using phishing or some other method of getting inside your network without any of your perimeter stuff seeing it. The ooey gooey middle, I think, is what the people called it in the past. You got the crunchy outside of the cookie, and you got the ooey gooey middle on the inside. So zero trust was founded by Forrester, and I think there's an extra R in Forrester. Anyway, we're not grading on spelling today. And implemented by Google, and it's been around for about a decade, but it's a hot topic now because basically we still suck at security. We spend more and more money on security, and we get worse every year. The last breach was the biggest breach. And what are 99.9% of those breaches? Social engineering. So one of the things that zero trust tries to do is to limit the blast radius. I think that was what when we briefed some three-letter agencies on a white paper we did on this, I think that was the term I used because it was something they could understand. You're trying to limit the damage if there is a breach, somebody gets inside your network. It's a hot topic now because it's being built into regulations. And there's going to be requirements by the federal government to implement it by a specific time. I forget what that is, but it's very soon. Also, more people are working remotely because of COVID-19. And we continue to be in this sort of hybrid work situation. We were talking at Marshall about, we can't wait to go back to face-to-face meetings. Well, what we found out, a lot of people don't have time for face-to-face meetings, and hybrid works better for them. So we're still kind of in a hybrid work environment where people are using the internet more. Sometimes they're using it from their house, from a computer that you have no control of. So that's another reason for zero trust. It doesn't mean you need to add more security friction. Nobody wants more security friction. It just means you need to remove trust from the network. You don't trust everything on the network by default. Basically, every time service touches a resource, it needs to authenticate again. When you remove trust from the network, you must gain confidence in your users, devices, and service. And basically the way you do that is by knowing your users, devices, and services. Does everyone know how many computers there are on their network? Does everyone have a good idea of all the users on your network? The bigger the network, of course, the harder it is. And then you have to have something that manages the identities of both users, services, and devices. An identity can represent a user, a human, a service, a software process, or a hardware device. And each should be uniquely identifiable and cryptographically verifiable in a zero trust architecture. So what does that mean? This is an interactive presentation about. Right, just-in-time access. So every time you basically, anytime you touch something on a network, it's being identified cryptographically as something you can trust. Does that make sense? Sometimes I think I make up analogies that only make sense to me. The worst was when I taught network protocols, and I was like, so it's like a bowling alley, and somehow I came up with a complete analogy that made sense to me, but not to anyone else. So anyway, so the first thing you do is you're going to complete a discovery exercise of your network so you can identify all the pieces of your network, whether they're human, software, or hardware. And you put all this into a directory, create the accounts, and then link the individuals. Upgraded my Mac and now it acts weird. Each identity should be assigned a role, and that role should be least privileged. So Emma, what's least privileged?
Least amount of access user needs to do their job.
That's right. It's one of my graduates in the back there. Very good, Brian. So people should only have the amount of privilege that they need to do their job, nothing more. So none of this is new. Have you heard anything new in this at all? Directory needs to be compatible with all services within the architecture, no matter where they are accessed from. And there is no single source of identity and sign-on for the user. So the whole idea is to eliminate friction from this whole idea that you have to keep authenticating over and over and over again. You don't want to add friction at all. You just want it to be so that things aren't trusted until they can be trusted based upon the trust that you put in the user or the device. So create dual groups, define roles that have been configured to least privileged, support strong and modern methods such as multi-factor and passwordless architecture. So is everyone using two-factor at this point? Finally. Two-factor's been around for years, and the fact that I think my bank got it a couple years ago. And also, what is passwordless authentication? Anyone want to take a stab at that? I don't have any prizes. How about this? I'll give you this microphone if you can. And you can rap too. Go ahead.
Like they'll send you an email instead of forcing you to put in a password?
Email is one of them. Like on my MacBook here, I have a fingerprint. So I guess you could cut my finger off if you wanted to break into my computer. The idea with security is you can't eliminate risk, but you try to manage risk. Yes, sir. Yeah. What he just said. I would restate it, but I would probably get it backwards. So it's what you know, who you are, and what you have. Is that correct? I got it right? Okay, remember what you know from that. So yeah, exactly. Sorry. Man, there's a lot of reading here. I hate to read slides. So we go ahead and read this. I'm going to take a sip of coffee. So, securely provisioned credentials to user, enable federated access. Can you tell me what federated access is?
There's a group of companies that trust each other.
Or a group of services that trust each other. You know, so you've got single sign-on at Marshall. That's an example of federated access. OpenID Connect. There's a bunch of different things out there. Right. And hopefully it works. Support your joiners, movers, leavers, processes. So this is one of the things that really gets my goat. When I used to work in law firms, they would fire people and let them sit there at their computer and look for another job. In the meantime, they have complete privileges to the entire network. They could have basically deleted everything and nothing would happen. So the question becomes, in the case of zero trust, you have to have a framework. What do you do when someone comes into your network? What's the process? And when they leave the network? We still do that with students, I think. I think you have your account for life, your email account at least, maybe not login, but. So, and then the other thing with federated ID, accepting identities from other trusted third-party user directories. So basically what you're going to see here is this is all managed around basically directories of users, processes, and devices. So how do you knock this over? Well, if you can, if you have some way of compromising the directory that has all the keys to all these things, that is a problem. And when we were talking about this to some people who work in the Beltway, well, actually outside the Beltway, closer to Baltimore, one of the things they said was that there's still this flaw, even though you do all this stuff. Okay, well, there's a flaw in everything. Has anyone ever seen Dave Kennedy? Dave Kennedy used to do a talk called Building a Mature Security Program. That's all this is. Knowing where your stuff is a big part of it. Knowing what you're doing with your users and your data is a big part of it. All they've done basically is build a framework around it and put a pretty bow on top. And then also mapping data, roles. I think I've said this 15,000 times in different ways. Also, mapping workflows, define roles, access, authentication, give a clear picture on how data moves and is accessed. Identity management, again, this is what we're talking about, which is sort of a problem. So who's your source of truth is who? Who's your source of truth in identity management? I'm covering this up so you can't read the slide. HR. HR knows everyone who works there, right? HR should know everyone's role. This also can be a problem because HR can be targeted for especially phishing. But yeah, you're going to rely upon HR. There's also insider threats. Never trust, always verify. Verify at the time of assignment and verify at the time of access. Those are two different verifications. And without reading a complete NIST document to you, do you all have any further questions? No questions. Oh, I got 3 questions. Okay, go ahead.
Your HR department doesn't know everything.
That's a problem. Then it doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
It wouldn't be the first time where they said, "Oh, consultants, that department deals with them. We don't even know."
Yeah, that's just it. If you don't have a good identity management going on here, it's not going to work. You got to build those systems for the rest of the system to work. Yes, you had a question. Is there anyone here from old law firms? No, I don't think so. Great, go ahead.
So, not the fact that they had continued access, but I think with Zero Trust, is there anything in the framework for the trust situation? If you're doing your job, you need access to file server, registration access. How do you, like, lock that down even more and contacts?
Yeah, that's a good question. And
Because they assume the identity of a person needs full access to do it well.
yeah, well, sometimes. I mean, it's based on their role too. So the identity of somebody that works as a mail runner is going to be different than an identity who's a managing partner. In this case, they were secretaries. So they had, well, so this is a long story, so bear with me. Because of the way we had to configure a bunch of stuff, everyone was local admin. So that breaks Zero Trust right there. But I understand what you're saying. If someone were able to steal their identity, then they could just waltz across the network. That's true. That is a flaw in Zero Trust. I guess the one thing you'd have to do is put biometrics maybe into it some way. And I know we all have unlimited budgets to do that. And we have unlimited budgets to build this stuff out. This is an example of regulators going, oh, that's a great idea. Implement it tomorrow. For everything. DOD, all federal agencies. Oh, so we're going to get the states to do it too while we're at it. No budget. And it takes a lot of work to do this. Yes? Yes, they do. It's not perfect. Yeah. Right. You know, it doesn't fail open. So, yeah. So, yeah, there's a problem with everything. I'm not here to even defend Zero Trust. I'm just trying to bring awareness to the fact that it exists. It's a great idea, but how you implement it, like everything else, is how it's going to work. And a lot of it is going to take time and money. Now that I've depressed everyone, yes, sir. Well, I think SANS has some very good, they had, actually went to a SANS summit on Zero Trust where there was a lot of good information. And then NIST has their own documents. If you're having problems sleeping, you can go and look at the NIST documents. But there are also companies that claim to sell Zero Trust. And one of the things you can look at that and sort of compare it to what else you can find. But I don't think there's one true source of what Zero Trust is. I think it's also based upon interpretation and how it's implemented. Again, it's a framework. It's not a product. You all missed my ShmooCon talk about guarding your cyber APT in the cloud, didn't you? Completely troll talk. But anyway, I'm not here to troll. I'm not here to bury Zero Trust, nor to praise it, but it's an interesting topic. But then again, it's just a matter of building a mature security program. Thank you, Dave Kennedy. He wouldn't answer my email to come here and keynote, but anyway. Any other questions? Brian, you have a question? So you were looking for somebody? Brian needs a job. Was it you? So you might want to talk. So anything else? Anyone need a date or anything while I'm in here? I'll match you up. I am a matchmaker.
This talk was a part of our 2022 Secure West Virginia Licky 13 conference. If you would like more information about this talk or our speaker, check the description below. And if you enjoyed the content, consider liking and sharing this video. For more information on Secure West Virginia, or you want to stay updated with the latest upcoming events, follow us on Twitter at SecureWVCon or visit our website securewv.org. We would also like to thank our 2022 sponsors for being a huge part of Lucky 13's success.